Nigel Farage. He was the campaign leader for the Brexit movement and a big support behind the scenes, I'm very aware of, for Donald Trump. And he saw what happened before Brexit happened. He saw what was coming in the United States. And, of course, following the Italian referendum Sunday night, you had hundreds of protesters taking to the streets of Rome demanding that Italy now leaves the European Union as well. Well, this is far from over. Anyway, so what's going on, Nigel? Howard, what a year this has been. Did you really bet on the election in the States?
I sure did. Oh, absolutely. When I came over in August and I shared the platform with Donald Trump in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, what was really interesting was after I'd finished and Donald had finished, and I went into the audience just to meet the people, Sean, just to talk to them, just to see who they were. And you know what? They were the American version of the Brexit voters in the UK. Ordinary, decent people who'd been given a bad break.
You know, what nobody here understood, which I saw coming. I got a call from the New York Times. Now, they hate me over at the New York Times, and I'm sure you totally, completely understand what that's like. And so they're asking, well, we want to do an article. How did you see what nobody else could see? And I'm like, well, I opened my eyes. Yeah, that's what I said. You watch, you observe, you see, you look at millions of more Americans in poverty on food stamps, lowest home ownership rate, worst recovery, double the debt. You know, what part of this are you missing? What foreign policy success did this guy have? And then you've got the worst candidate that's dishonest, not trustworthy, a liar, and probably a felon if she ever got justice, running against him. It was pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, because what's happened here is that across the Western world, the people who work in big business, the people who work in political lobbying, the people who work in what we used to call mainstream media, and the people who are players in politics, they're all the same people. They're all interchangeable.
You know, but
in my country,
yeah.
In my country, they all go to the same schools, they all go to the same university, they all do the same degree, they marry each other's sisters, and they interchange jobs, and they're living a very narrow little world. And the only time this privileged elite meet ordinary people when they're being served meals by them or being driven by them, and they're not even very nice to those people then. There is a complete disconnect. The disconnect of Brussels to the rest of Europe, and I would dare say the disconnect of Washington, actually, with a lot of Middle America.
Tell me what you think of what happened in the Italian referendum on Sunday night and the prime minister stepping down after, he basically wanted a dramatic shift in the Constitution. You've had, 63 or 64 prime ministers there in 70 years. It's kind of ridiculous. And he blames the high number of state legislators, senators, and representatives as the cause of the problem, wanted it reduced dramatically. What does that mean for this movement? In other words, the more populist nationalist movement that believes in secure borders and keeping jobs at home.
Renzi is a very good-looking 41-year-old leader. He sort of comes out of the model of Blair, Clinton, Schroeder in Germany. They look good. They talk in platitudes, but actually, if you look at the agenda they support, they support open borders. They haven't got the courage to stand up to Islamic terrorism, and he may well have called this referendum trying to centralize some power in Italy, which, I accept, for much of the post-war period has been ungovernable. But actually what he found himself was with a referendum where people were voting not just on their views on him, but crucially on their membership of the Eurozone. What is the point of centralizing power in Italy if actually the big decisions are taken by the European Central Bank in Frankfurt and the European Commission in Brussels? What is the point of a nation state?
Why is Great Britain having such a problem after their referendum to leave?
Well, let me just give you my analysis. The big revolution in Britain on June 23rd saw the people speak. But with the exception of Cameron and Osborne, the Prime Minister and Chancellor, who were turfed out, all the same players are still on the chessboard. Whereas your revolution, Trump didn't just win, he's now in control, of who the key players are going to be that will make the big decisions. So we are left with our political class. They're still in position, they're still in place, the judges are the same, the politicians are the same, the ministers are the same, and so what they're trying to do is everything they can within their power to delay, to frustrate, and in some cases they even want to reverse this referendum result. So we've got a bit of a problem, but believe me, it's only a short-term problem, because what Brexit saw was the biggest democratic exercise in the history of these islands. And believe me, every one of those people who voted Brexit, despite being told by everybody it was a dreadful thing to do, they will not rest until they get what we voted for. So even if they try and stop us, we'll come back. And if we have to do it again, we'll win by an even bigger margin.
I couldn't believe the comments of Tony Blair talking about Western democracies. What was your take on what he said?
Blair, I think, has become one of the most loathed figures for an ex-prime minister we've ever seen. And he was followed up by his successor, predecessor, John Major, who said much the same thing. So two former living prime ministers telling us, that really the referendum was a mistake and we should do it all again. And like you, Sean, I host a radio show here in the UK. So I had a competition the other week to ask for a collective noun to describe prime ministers who want to change the present. And the best one I got was a haunting, because that's what it is. We're being haunted by these figures who took us deeper and deeper into the European political process. Look, they're missing a trick. They're even more disconnected than they were before. Yes, I'm frustrated. We should, the day after Brexit, have said to the EU, we're off. We're taking back control of our lives. I'm frustrated, I'm upset, I'm angry, but I know that in the end, the determination of the people is going to win.
Well, I'm fascinated by Angela Merkel. Now she wants a fourth term as the German chancellor. And Angela Merkel, of course, was largely responsible for bringing in all of these refugees. And Angela Merkel now wants to ban burqas. I'm like, okay, well, I guess she really wants power badly, considering she's flopping and flailing that much.
This is what I hate. I was a businessman for 20 years. I got into politics because I genuinely believed something was going wrong. And I pretty much stick to my guns. I believe what I believe in. And if you want to support that and believe in that, then vote for it. What I find absolutely loathsome are professional career politicians like Merkel, who made the worst foreign policy decision any leader in the Western world has made since 1945 by saying unconditionally, regardless of who you are, where you come from, without vetting, you can come in unlimited numbers. And we saw things. I mean, let's not forget what happened at Cologne train station on New Year's Eve last year. If listeners don't know this story, brace yourselves, because it's pretty shocking. We saw the mass open sexual assault on hundreds of women in a public place outside a German train station, caused directly by what Mrs. Merkel had done. And now, because she wants to get re-elected, she's pretending to play the tough lady and saying we should ban the burqa. And I would say that is a bit like shutting the door after the horse has bolted.
Yeah. Do you think there's any way that she could win re-election in this environment? Because it seems like she's trying really hard.
Well, that depends on how gullible, frankly, people are. British Prime Minister in the 60s, Harold Wilson, once said that a week is a long time in politics, by which he meant that so many people are busy living their lives and paying their mortgages and bringing up their kids that they kind of forget the mistakes of the past. I very much hope she gets punished for what she did. And don't forget, it wasn't just Germany that took all these people. It was the rest of Europe too. I don't know. What I do know is that Italy, and I've been saying this before to you on this program, Italy is the absolute wild card in the European pack. You've now got parties that want a referendum on Italy's membership of the euro, nearing 50% in the opinion polls. And I think with Renzi having lost the referendum, further run on the Italian banks, which, let's face it, they're frankly bankrupt, I think we may well see. The biggest shock in 17 may well be a general election in Italy that triggers a referendum on the membership of the euro. And I think if the Italian people get that, they will vote for salvation.
What did your relationship grow into with Donald Trump? I know you were here in New York quite a bit. I know you spent a lot of time with him. I think you were even here on election night, if I remember correctly.
I admire the fact that this man is not going to be bullied, is not going to be told by bureaucrats in Washington, oh, Mr. Trump, this is how we do things. I admired the fact that this guy has got a proper personality, and he gets that something has gone wrong. He gets that a lot of very decent, ordinary, hard-working Americans have had a rotten break over the course of the last few years, that the dominance of the big global corporates has meant the rich get richer, and the small man and woman just has not got a proper chance to get on. And I admired that. I admire his tenacity. And can I say his work rate is just phenomenal. He is an indomitable, sort of force of nature, frankly. So, do you know what? The more I meet him, the more I like him. And I have watched him since he became president-elect, and I I thought what happened in that factory carrier last week, with him walking at the head of that snake with the big overcoat on, with Pence giving the thumbs up to the workers, I thought that's the best bit of PR any president-elect probably ever had. And I tell you something, knowing him and his determination, his belief in good values, I really honestly think this man could become an absolute hero.
Look, I know conservatism works. You remember Maggie Thatcher, so you know it works. And if he's able to implement, and my advice to him is if he wants a friend in D.C., he better hang out with Pat and his dog a lot, because that's the only friend he's going to have. But if he implements his agenda on repatriation of dollars and energy independence, and if he follows up on a 15% corporate tax rate and gets rid of Obamacare, everything will be in place. Do you know that Obama was the first president in U.S. history ever to not reach 3% GDP growth? Ever. I mean, is that insane or what?
Well, I mean, Obama failed. And I mean, to watch that speech last night that Obama gave on national security, I mean, goodness me, wasn't it pathetic after 8 years of failure? Look, we're entering a new time. Trump is now the leader of the Western world. And, it's an amazing thing. I've got English people saying to me, we feel like Trump's our president too. That is how much he's touching the hearts of people. That is how strong his personality, this incredible, I say again, force of nature. And yeah, I want to see corporation tax cut. I think he'll do it. Lots of money will come back to the USA. He'll provide jobs. And crucially, the other thing he must...
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt, but look at Ireland, for example. But go ahead. What's the other thing he must do?
The other thing he must do is he must control illegal immigration. I think there is a burning, and I've sensed this because I've been all over the States the last few months, and I've sensed there is a burning injustice amongst all people in America. Interestingly, many Hispanics in Florida who voted for him. People who've legally come to America, done the right things, got registered, paid their taxes. Why the hell should they be undercut by people, flooding across that border, working in the black economy? And so I think the two things you've got to do: one, get growth and jobs going in the economy, and I'm really confident he's going to do that. And two, cut illegal immigration. They're the two big things to me that he really needs to do.
Nigel Farage, love having you on the program as always. Thank you so much for being with us.